Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Patrice Kennerson. I am the Veteran Services Coordinator for Central Texas College, and I would like to welcome you all again to another Zoom meeting for Veteran Services. And today, first of all, I do want to remind everybody that, again, this is just a question forum, but if you have any customer service questions in regards to your account, I would like for you to refer to the Veteran Services email that we have regarding any status checks. That would be veterans.services@ctcd.edu, or you're more than welcome to call us at any of the two numbers, 254-526-1205 or 254-526-1666 for any status checks. Again, this is just a question forum for any specific information. Today, what we're going to do is, before we go into any specifics, I just want to do just a quick recap of what we went over last month. Specifically, what we went over was the specific withdrawal processes on how to withdraw from any courses that you have to withdraw from specifically. Of course, I like to remind students that if you have to withdraw from any courses, of course, we do understand, but before you do withdraw from any course, we always like to advise students to come and speak with us specifically so we can provide any counseling tips on why you feel you do have to withdraw and what are the best procedures for withdrawal. And of course, we like to discuss with students any consequences on what could happen if you do decide you actually have to withdraw from any courses. Specifically, some of the consequences on withdrawing from a course, specifically if the classes have been certified by VA, for example, if you receive any money from VA, such as any basic Army housing or military housing allowance, you will be required to pay that back. So that's some of the consequences that you will be experiencing if your classes were certified. So again, that's some of the consequences that you would be experiencing. So again, if you have to go through a withdrawal process, pretty much, we again advise students to come talk to us so we can give you counseling tips on what to do in case that you have to go through any kind of such process. Also, what we discussed pretty much is the tips on how to avoid being dropped for non-payment. Specifically, if you're using benefits such as Chapter 30, Chapter 35, which is the Montgomery GI Bill, Chapter 35, which is Dependent Educational Assistance, Chapter 16, which is Reserve Educational Assistance Program, and Chapter 17, which is Veteran Educational Assistance Program itself. Those programs, you're required to pay out of pocket for your tuition and fees before any benefits can be paid to you. Those are some tips, and those, if you're using like Chapter 31, which is vocational rehab, or Chapter 33, which is post 9/11, you would be required, if you register for classes, to come and see us immediately so we can go ahead and make arrangements with the business office so that way you can avoid getting dropped for non-payment. So those are some of the information that basically we went over the last month, how and what you can do to avoid getting dropped for non-payment, especially when you register for classes. What we're going to be focusing on in this particular web session is particularly pertaining to those who are enrolled at the CAINT Center. These are for students who are working on a specific certification program, not so much as a degree program, but a certification program, which is a lot shorter than an actual degree program. Um, some of the rules, specifically in policies and procedures, are very similar to that of those who are working on a degree program, but in a lot of instances, a degree program is a little bit more longer than a certification program. With the certification program, there's not as many classes that you would have to take as it would be on a degree program. But there are some things that are a little bit more different on a certification program than it would be on an actual degree program. So for those students who are actually on a certification program, there are slight big differences and changes, or actually a slight bit different policies and procedures that you basically would have to go ahead and take in order to make sure that if you are using VA benefits, that you would have to go ahead and make sure that those are actually fulfilled, to make sure that your benefits are processed in a timely manner. We do have a guest speaker. She is tied up in a meeting at the moment. Hopefully, she'll be here and she'll be able to give you some information on those policies and procedures and how that can happen. But for the most part, some of the general questions that would normally be asked is for those who are taking any type of certification program. And like I said, those certification programs are a lot shorter than an actual degree program. And some of the questions that we would normally get is that if I am on any type of certification program, do I have to list all the classes, especially if they have their Veterans Enrollment Certificate, which would normally would be filled out per semester? Do we have to list all those classes on the Veterans Enrollment Certificate? And the answer to that is no. Just as it would be on an actual degree plan, you would only list the classes that you're taking for the current term, even though the curriculum for the certification program is a lot shorter than that of the actual degree program. Another question is that the registration process for the actual certification program is slightly different than that of the actual degree program. I know with a lot of the students who are in the certification program mostly have to go through the Cape Center in this instances. So most of the time, a lot of the Cape Center students would have to go to the Cape Center in order to get their registration process. So in that instance. Now, in regards to getting your VA benefits process, how does all of that work? Okay. Now, a lot of the students that we have experienced in regards to getting their VA benefits processed, my recommendation would always be is that I noticed that from what I'm seeing is a lot of your class time is a lot shorter than those of the students who are actually on an actual degree plan. So how do you constantly make sure that your classes are certified in a timely manner? So my recommendation is if you know that you have to take courses back to back to back, which is what my experience in seeing that you students actually do, is make sure that you constantly stay on top of that. If you know that you have to take one class and then you have to take another class and then take another class, make sure you constantly come and see us. So that way we can go ahead and get you processed and stay pretty much back to back on everything, pretty much. The process is still the same, so to speak. If you're a beginning student, you make sure you have all your paperwork lined up and everything and ready and good to go. Whether you're on chapter 30, chapter 35, 1606, 1607, if you're using those benefits, the payment method is still the same. You still have to pay out of pocket if you're using those benefits, Montgomery, Chapter 30, Montgomery GI Bill, dependent educational assistance. If you're using vocational rehab, Chapter 31, post 9/11, Chapter 33. Um, Even though you're not required to pay for tuition and fees right up front, you still want to get with us and make sure that we have everything set up and good to go so we can make arrangements with the business office to avoid you getting dropped for non-payment. But you still have to get the initial paperwork set up and good to go. So, but once that is taken care of and everything is set up and pretty much taken care of, then pretty much what you do is at that point, we go ahead and get you set up and ready to go. Now, from that moment on, once your initial paperwork is basically set up and good to go, the recertification process is pretty much the same in this instance. What you do is you go ahead and you complete the verification enrollment certificate. And there's like most students who are actually on an actual degree plan, there's one or two ways you can basically do that. You can either complete it online through www.ctcd.edu through our eTree system, or you can actually go online and you can actually print out a hard copy, and you can actually send it to us through the email system through veterans.services@ctcd.edu. So there's actually two ways you can actually complete the Veterans Enrollment Certificate. Um, so through the recertification process. Now, as I stated before, with you being, if you're a student going through the CATE Center and you're going through a certification process, most CATE Center students, particularly on those type of programs, your courses are pretty much different in this cases and pretty much shorter. So, like I said, these are the type of classes that you really have to stay on top of, because once you pretty much started, next thing you know, in a blink of an eye, they're pretty much over and done with in some instances. So if you know you have to take a course right after, not too long after the first course you're finished is completed, then I would say come see us as soon as possible. That way we can go ahead and get you set up on that next course, so to speak. And that way you don't have to worry about pretty much, oh, did I get that course certified? Or did I put in the verification enrollment certificate for that next course? So, and the good news is we actually have a school certifying official specifically for the CATE Center students. His name is Daniel Reyes, and we actually have a contact information number and email for him. His contact number is 254 526 1982. Again, his number is 254 526 1982. And his email address is D as in David, REYES.JR@ctcd.edu. Again, that's D as in David, R as in Road, E as an elephant, Y as in yacht, E as in elephant, S as in Sam, dot JR at ctcd.edu. And he specifically works with CATE Center students and those on the certification program, and particularly those who work at the CATE Center. So for specifically those who are on any type of certification certificate, yes, like I said, you always want to make sure that you come to us immediately, especially when you know you have classes that might be back to back. So that way we can go ahead and get you processed as soon as to go. Because like I said, as soon as one class starts, pretty much, then it could be over within a blink of an eye, and then the next thing your class comes back, your class starts right back after that class ends. So that way we can go ahead and get you processed as soon as to go. But also remember, if you're on a benefit that requires you to pay out of pocket, you need to make sure, unless you have some other financing resource that's going to pay for that class, you have to make sure those classes are paid for before you register, or at the point of registration, or otherwise you will be dropped for non-payment. So pretty much with the CATE Center students in this case, yeah, that's pretty much how we go ahead and we work with CATE Center students in this case. Um, so far, are there any questions that have come up? You have any questions so far? Okay. So far there are no questions. I see Ms. Veronica Martin, who happens to be the director of the CATE Center students. She hasn't come on yet to discuss the policies and procedures in regards to the CATE Center. So what we'll also do at this point is um, pretty much in regards to anything else, it's like I said, the steps in regards to processing is really not that much different from those who are actually on the associate's degree program. Is just that, like I stated before, those who are on the certification or dealing with the CATE Center students, like I said, because your program and your classes pretty much are coming in back to back, depending upon what your program is, you would just need to make sure that you really, really stay on top of that. And that because your classes come in back to back, you would just need to make sure you get with us as soon as possible. But in the beginning process, especially if you're a new student, the procedure is pretty much the same. You know, starting out, you just make sure you have all your initial paperwork together for the most part. Just make sure you have it all together. You come and see us and we go ahead and get it processed. The recertification process, that's just, like I said, something you have to be really, really quick on the ball with, especially with your classes being so back to back, you know, and then making sure that if you change programs, pretty much it's the standard same procedure. If you decide to change programs, if you're still, or if you decide to go to a different certification, it's still the same as if you were changing any type of degree program. You just make sure you get us a copy of a different certification, so that way we can have it attached to your file, and that way we can go ahead and make the adjustments as necessary. As far as any type of additional paperwork that we might need, that's pretty much the same process as it would if you were an actual degree plan. So um, let's see if there's anything else that would need to be covered. That would be pretty much it as far as the certification process goes for the Cape Center students. As far as, let's see, any, I don't see any questions coming in. I know one of the other questions that students had asked me at times is how many hours that would it take for a student to be considered full time. Well, normally with a certification program, normally depending upon, it's not so much as how many classes, it depends in some cases how the program is set up. In some cases, with some certification programs, it's based on clock hours, and then some certification programs is based on credit hours. So it basically will determine based on what program that you're under and how it's measured in some cases. So we would just have to determine based on your program and decide from there. It looks like one question's come in. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Let's see. It looks like one question was asked: should students do their VA paperwork with the VA before starting their classes with the Cape Center? Let's see. I would recommend yes. I would say as far in advance as possible, yes. Yes, because you do have to register your classes with the Cape Center. So yes, you would need to do it as far advanced as possible, probably at the point of registration. Yes. As soon as you register with the Cape Center, because the Cape Center is going to be the one to sign you up for classes. So at that point, if you can do your VA paperwork at that point, yes, I would recommend you do it then, and then once they sign you up for classes, then you would come and see us. Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, that's my recommendation. Yes, yes, you would need to go ahead and complete your VA paperwork before starting classes with the Cape Center, because the Cape Center is going to be the one to register you up for classes. That is correct. And do it as advanced as possible at the point of registration. That's a very good question, because they're going to be the one to give you your registration slip, and you would bring that information to us so we can see that you're enrolled in classes. Are there any other questions? Okay. I do see another question. Someone asked, how long does it take for CTC to process the paperwork once it receives? Well, that's a good question. Not in addition to those that we work with in the Cape Center, we also have addition to other students who are also receiving associate's degrees. So the time can vary. We would like to say we process, probably the best way we put it is we process in the order it's received. So it could take anywhere. And it's kind of hard to say because we're not just processing here at the main campus, we're processing pretty much all the campuses pretty much globally. So it can take a while pretty much. So I can't really exactly put a number on it. So it also depends on how many applications we get at the time. So I will tell you this, we can process anywhere from 45 to 5,000 students every single semester. So it can take quite a bit of time. So my advice is to get your BCs, your application in as soon as possible, pretty much at the start of registration. So as soon as registration opens, whether you're in the Kent Center, whether you're in the main campus, get it in as soon as possible. Early registration pretty much means early certification. That's my recommendation to you. Because it's not just the main campus we're certifying, it's not just the Kent Center, it's everybody we're certifying. So that's pretty much the best way that I can answer that. Are there any other questions? Okay. I see one more question that's coming in. What are some of the issues that can arise if a student waits till the last minute? Okay. Well, some of the issues that can arise if a student does wait until last minute. Well, number one is that, well, for one thing, one issue can arise is that, especially if they've already registered for classes, they run into the possibility of them being dropped for non-payment because of the fact that, number one, if they register for classes, they wait until the last minute. Number one, they run into the possibility of their stuff not getting processed in a timely manner. Number two, in addition to being dropped for non-payment, they also run into the possibility of the fact that uh, what was I going to say? Uh, they could be dropped for non-payment. They can also run into the possibility of the fact that, say something. Um, excuse me. They also run into the possibility of the fact that not only can they be dropped for non-payment, they can also run into the possibility of the fact that not only can they not only be dropped for non-payment, they can also run into the possibility of them not being able to they well, excuse me, they also run into the possibility of not being able to get that particular class. That's what I meant to say before. I'm sorry. They could also possibly not be able to get that particular class. So it's always good to, number one, register early because they should be able to find the class that they want. They can also avoid being dropped for non-payment. In addition, it also avoids being, put into that voids being put into that bum rush because a lot of students tend to wait until that last minute of wanting to see if they can get processed. So to try to avoid delays, try to get ahead of that game as far as possible. Would they be delayed in getting extra funds like BAH? No, 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 no. Um, Now the only thing is that the good news with VA is that even though if you do wait until the last minute, I mean VA does back pay, but the only thing is that VA will process the BAH. The only thing is that VA will process it. It'll just process on its own time. So the fact of the matter is, eventually you will get the BAH if you qualify for it. You just have to wait the time frame in order for you to get it. So that's why I always encourage students at that point, just make sure you always want to get your stuff in as early as possible. So like I said, you will be able to backdate it. I mean, we will be able to backdate. You just don't want to wait too long. But yes, you will be able to get your BAH. But however, you still don't want to wait until at that last minute because unfortunately, and it's just been my experience to notice that everybody tends to wait until the last minute, which is why we don't want to encourage students to wait until that last minute, because everybody tends to wait till that last minute for some reason. And then what it does is it does delay processing time, and it does take longer. But eventually, if you do qualify for BAH, yes, you will get BAH. We do send the information off to VA. And VA does make the payments towards the school, depending on what benefit you have. And yes, they do make payments towards you for your BAH if you qualify. I mean, you will get it, but yes, it does take longer. So yeah, but yeah, you want to do that too. Excuse me, but like I say, you don't want to wait till the last minute, because it does delay the processing time. So, are there any other questions? Okay. So as of right now, that pretty much takes care of the processing on the Cape Center side. And like I said, it's pretty much not that different from that of those who are seeking an actual degree. It's just that there's just a little bit more steps involved. Excuse me. It's just the steps involved are slightly different than that of the actual students getting an actual associate's degree. Like I said, you just got to be a little bit more on the ball, because, like I said, those who work at the actual Cape going to the actual Cape Center, your classes are a little bit more different since they come more back to back. So you got to be more a little bit more quick on it, pretty much, as far as make sure, especially for those who are recertifying, you just got to come in a little bit more quicker than those who are actually on a degree plan. But that pretty much covers it as far as those who are actually at the Cape Center. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that since summer classes are coming up, I wanted to talk to you about early registration for summer. We actually have registration for summer that has come up. It begins April 12th, which is this coming Monday. So, and it will start on April 12th and will go to June 4th. And that's what I was just talking about not too long ago. And that's why I want to encourage students, as possible, if you have the means to register early and you're using VA benefits, I want to encourage everybody to go ahead and register as early as possible. Early registration means early certification. And that way, if you register now, that way you don't have to wait until the last minute, and you don't have to wait until that bum rush, because I guarantee you, it's been my experience, it happens every single term. Everybody tends to wait till the last minute. Some folks just don't know, unfortunately, and some people are unaware, and then some people, yeah, they do wait until the last minute. But however, if you register now, you know you can register now. My advice is to go ahead and do it, especially with the mass amount of students that we have. Like I stated before, we register and we certify anywhere from 45 to 5,000 students every single term. So believe me, I've been here for a while now, and it's been my experience. It can take a while to process. So if you have the ability to register now, go ahead and register now. Get your certification in and out of the way. Early registration means early certification, which also means you can get your funding early, and that means you can get your BAH or MAH, monthly housing allowance, if you qualify for it. That way, you are done, you are out of the way, you don't have to worry about it. So that's one less thing that's off your shoulders, off your plate, and you go, phew, I can go to school without any problems. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So that's all I had for you today in regards to the Cape Center, pretty much, and pretty much the early registration process. Did we had any questions about that at all? Okay. Well, as always, it's always been a pleasure talking to you. If you had any questions, you are more than welcome to get in contact with us on the live chat. That's on our website at www.ctcd.edu. If you go there, you just go under Student Tools, and under Student Tools, you just hit Military Veterans. And when you click under Military Veterans, it'll be off in the left-hand corner, and you'll see the live chat box. And the live chat session is open Monday through Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then you can also contact us by phone at 254-526-1205, and also by 254-526-1666. And you can also contact us by email at veterans.services@ctcd.edu. Again, that's veterans.services@ctcd.edu. Thank y'all so much for attending. We really appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful day.